Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. On this episode, we attended the Iowa Ag Expo this week and announced the winner of our Milwaukee Tool Set. Hear Ben, Lynn, and Turk's takeaways from the past few days. Ben breaks down the components of our new Merschman Corn featuring our PowerCore Enlist portfolio of products.
Hi all, this is Avery Bennett with Merschman Seeds. We've spent the last 3 days up there at the Iowa Ag Expo in Des Moines, and we had our giveaway here of Milwaukee Impact Set and sockets, and had a lot of interest, had a lot of great conversations, and met many new faces and many existing customers. So here we go, we're going to draw these out and see who the winner is today. Wyatt Sandine from Blakesburg, Iowa. You're the lucky winner today, and so now stay tuned and listen to Cup of Joe with Joe, Turk, Lynn, and Ben. So thank you and have a good day.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Merschman Seeds Cup of Joe. Today we have our regulars, Ben, Lynn, and Turk, and you've been up at the Iowa Ag Expo, where they have all the machinery and everybody in ag is there. It's one of the largest ones in the United States, so I'm sure you've been talking to farmers. Let's start with Lynn. Tell us a little bit about what you've learned this past week talking to farmers.
Yeah, so Ben and I went up on Thursday, and that is historically the slower of the days. But what I like about that day is we definitely get a lot more one-on-one time with customers that come up or prospective customers, because they don't feel like they're rushed through the system. On your guys' day, it definitely seemed like it was a herd mentality. You just kind of had to follow the herd. So we get a lot of good one-on-one time and discussing with customers about the successes. A lot of them that come up are folks from not in our local trade area. So we get to get more one-on-one conversation with folks that aren't from around here and find out what works in their area. A lot of familiar faces that come up and talk and just are very appreciative of the Merschman brand and what our salesmen and our dealers do for them. So, the biggest takeaway that I had, I would say, from what I gathered, our customers are some of the most fiercely loyal customers in the industry. They were very excited. They're very excited to look forward to what we have coming forth in 23. And then, you throw in the caveat of the Merschman Corn. A lot of the folks, we could have just sat there and talked to them all day, but, they have to go see other things as well. So my biggest takeaway was just the excitement that's brewing for the bean lineup coming up, and then also the introduction of the corn.
I agree, Lynn, that the biggest conversations that I seem to have is everybody wanted to share how great their soybean yields were last year with us compared to some competitors or compared to past years, even though they had a pretty tough year in a lot of areas at some time during out the growing season. But everybody was pleasantly surprised with how great their yields ended up and wanted to share and talk about that.
Well, that's at the end of the day, it's the bushels that pay the bills. So I know, Ben, you worked very hard to come up with a lineup that's bulletproof and performs well. I know you want to talk about some of the other things that we've got going on too.
Right. So one of my takeaways, and I guess I had two main takeaways. It's amazing how many people know us for being a soybean company, but I got the opportunity to talk a lot about wheat with certain growers in that southern portion of Iowa, northern portion of Missouri. So being able to talk about our ultra early lines and the super early line that I have in seed production right now that potentially could be coming off, the smack dab middle of June, or maybe even earlier than that if you're in a traditional double crop area, and there's a lot of excitement brewed coming around that direction. But what I thought was interesting is there was a big push 5 or 6 years ago when I first started, when we were going to all these Enlist meetings, talking about Enlist soybeans and what you can spray on the soybeans and that whole herbicide program. It seems like we were going to 2 big field days every summer to look at what was coming down the pipeline, and we were talking about Enlist corn during that time. Well, it's PowerCore Enlist corn. That's the trait platform that is going to be bringing the new genetics and that the Merschman Seeds is going to be offering as one platform. But a lot of people haven't talked about that PowerCore Enlist since then, and we've gone over it if you wanted to go back and look at older episodes. But in a nutshell, what PowerCore Enlist corn is, is it is herbicide tolerance to 3 different products. So you can spray the corn up to 30 inches without having to put drops on with Enlist Duo or Enlist 1 herbicide. You can spray Roundup because it's Roundup tolerant. You can spray Liberty tolerant, and watch your labeled rates for the heights on those. But the 2,4-D component you can spray up at a later level on a higher, taller plant type. But the last one is FOPS tolerance. So if you're in a corn-on-corn situation and you didn't have Enlist corn the prior year, you'd be able to go in and spray a product like Assure 2 to go in and clean up whatever volunteer corn that you may have in that system. So 4 different modes of action when we're looking at herbicides. We have 3 different modes of action. It's a double pro plus Herc, so we have a very broad spectrum of Lepidoptera we can control, but it's just an additional mode of action so that we're constantly staying ahead of resistance issues.
Yeah, I like the fact that you've got 2 above ground traits in that PowerCore Enlist corn, you know, the like you said, the double pro plus the Herculex, which makes it a pretty attractive product, and then 4 herbicide posts that you can use. Not to mention, you know, it's coming out in some pretty stellar genetics too. So this is the, I would say, the real major test phase this year, and the following year is going to be available. So there's going to be a lot of noise and a lot of discussion about PowerCore Enlist corn. There's no question about it, and give farmers some additional options out there in the field. Pretty excited about it too.
Yeah. So we have, like, we had talked about the 114-day and 115-day in previous episodes. That lineup has 3 more products in it. We have a 108-day, 111-day, and 113-day that are all going to be extremely widely adapted. They're going to be able to go on soil types that are maybe a little bit more variable to really, really high performing. They have the ability to flex. So I just kind of wanted to take my highlights from, you know, these 3 different products here that we haven't really spent much time talking about. So for the 24M08-30, so this is a product that's going to work south pretty decent for being 108. So this is a product that will work well here if you wanted an early option to get started on. When you look at this one in testing, it is the #1 product against checks, against some of the other pedigrees side by side. So we have very, very limited test seeds. So we're going to have this product in maybe, you know, 10 test plots, but we're going to be moving forward with it as hard as we can in production. But this one's going to look like an excellent option that takes us from here all the way to where 108 days is a full season product, and it's going to work east to west really well. Extremely high yielding product. Looks like highly productive ground. It's got a 9 out of 9. A little bit less productive ground. It's got an 8 out of 9. It works well in higher populations. It works well in lower populations. So it's going to be extremely versatile when we're looking at it that direction. Lynn, you know a lot about the 111-day. You and I have looked at that one. Why don't you talk about the 111 a little bit?
So the 111-day is one that we're going to be looking at as probably the staple of the lineup, as far as it should be on every acre where the 111 goes to, and then we can pivot either earlier or later depending on your geography. What we are probably the most excited about it is on the 2-year data that we've been providing. It is one that has been consistently to the top of all the checks of the stuff moving. They've had some stuff from, stuff they're looking at in the future, and this one, pretty similar to what we talk about with the Kennedys. It's just it's a variety that just seems like it can't be beat. So it's something that we're pretty excited about to be in the lineup for some time. The ear placement on that one, it's very showy. It puts that ear, right in front of you when you go out and look at it. It would be one of those that, if you have a landlord that's very observative, put that one by the road or around his house, because it really shows off that ear, and it's a really nice big ear. Even when you push it into the population, is a little bit higher. So it's one that, as well as the 108 day, goes east to west really well. We look for that to go north and south. Basically, in our trade area, it fits very well wherever we need to go.
For our limited launch for the 2023 season, we have a lot of that 111 day out that we have the opportunity to look at, and that's in the exact opposite portion of this 113 day. This is like the 108, there's almost no spec production of this product, so we're going to have it in a handful of test plots where we're going to be able to look at it, but we do have the ability to raise it for the 24 launch year. This 113 day was the only thing in testing that was slightly better than the 111 days, so we're extremely excited about it. It's got good plant height. It's, again, when you look at products and they give you the population recommendations, or they give you the productivity of the ground. If it's highly productive, we want it here. If it's lower production ground, we want it here. When you have a product that runs 8 and 9s and we're just tweaking it, like for this 113 day, I think I would potentially take the 111 and put it on the most productive ground that you have. And on this 113 day, I think I'd put it on something a little bit more variable, but knowing that it's going to have the yield when you get rain in those situations. I mean, it's really nice to be able to have a lineup of products that's going to work well west, central, and east, and that's what you're going to get when you're planting these new Merschman varieties.
Yeah, in addition, we'll be testing a conventional, 107-day conventional. We'll also be testing some glyphosate-tolerant products and some Veptera products that we can plan to launch for next year, and also a double pro in the full season. So we're coming out with a very diverse genetics product lineup, and we'll still have available the Stein short corn for those farmers that prefer that system with high population and narrower rows and want to maximize their yield that way. So it's going to be a very action-packed, all-star product portfolio that we're going to have for corn, and as we head into fall, you're going to hear a lot more noise about it.
It's exciting.
That 113 day always, in the 2 plots that we got to look at up close and personal, just kind of makes you laugh, because it's a corn plant that's very inconspicuous, and the folks that we are working with on this have all said the same thing, that it's one that they've just walked over, and then they come back and look at the yield, and it's like, where did that come from? So we have a good balance in between the 111 and 113 as far as showiness versus your workhorse, I guess you call it.
Yep. Once we get a little bit more information on some of those products that you're talking about, we'll highlight them on Cup of Joe as well. But I wanted to be able to continue to talk about some of the things here and keep everybody up to date as we roll into springtime.
Yeah, all 3 of you said PowerCore is just really not known very much from farmers, that new trait, so that's why we wanted to talk about it today. But and then the other kicker that we haven't talked about is that we are going to be putting Tripidity on these hybrids too, as well as a very stout fungicide package and insecticide package. So we will follow the tradition of having the best seed treatment possible put on these corn hybrids, which we know anything you can do to help uniformity on a corn plant coming out of the ground is yield. So again, we'll differentiate ourselves in the marketplace with Tripidity and some of these other fungicides and insecticide that we decide to use, and you'll hear more about that too as time goes on.
That's right.
Anything else? Good. I get to tell my joke then. No, I didn't mean that. The most important part is these guys here, because they're slugging it out every day. I always say selling seeds like hand-to-hand combat. It's we got a lot of tough competitors out there, and so you got to be really good if you're going to get the farmer to believe that you have the best products. Well, I've got two stories or jokes, I guess, and the first one happened to me just the other day. One of my employees came in and demanded that he get a raise because he's got 3 companies after him. Obviously very concerned. I said, what 3 companies? And he said, gas, water, and electric. Now this one here, I don't think we've even ever attempted to tell a little Johnny joke. So here's a little Johnny joke. Okay. Little Johnny asked his teacher, Mrs. Roberts, can I be punished for something I haven't done? And Mrs. Roberts, his teacher, is shocked. Of course not, Johnny. That would not be fair. Little Johnny was relieved, and he says, okay, Mrs. Roberts, I'm sorry I didn't do my homework last night. Smart kid. Mm-hmm. Well, anyhow, We hope that you're staying warm. The weather's going to warm up next week. It's going to feel like spring's coming. So if you haven't ordered your seed, please do so. And if you haven't taken delivery on it, please do so. So we'll see you next week. Take care.